Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Journey to Greatness, day 251 of 365 with David McDonald, the GOAT. All right, let's get these alarms on. All right, so I will see you all on the other side. Welcome to the Journey to Greatness. Welcome back. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, Auntie. Morning. Good morning, Liz. Howdy. Okay, so we just finished our meditation routine, and now we're getting into our reading routine. So I will see you all on the other side. Right after I get a new highlighter. Hmm. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay. So, good morning. Hey there, Yusuf. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, my brother. You're welcome. Any time of the week, any day. It's always good to stop and smell the roses. Um, so we just finished our reading routine, and now we're getting into our journaling routine. And in our journaling routine, I was listening to Jim Rohn yesterday, and see, one of my dreams when I buy like uh, I call it like my semi-retirement home. When I buy my home, like my probably like the home right before my last home, I want to have a built-in library and have just all of the books. I mean, all the journals, everything. And Jim Rohn helped me paint this picture of clarity yesterday when I was listening to him on YouTube, and it was it was pretty cool. He was just like, how are you sharpening yourself? The more money, the more time that you put into investing into being a better person, becoming pretty much stepping into consciousness, stepping into enlightenment. The exact same tone that Eckhart Tolle is the more of an asset you become to life, the more marketable you become if you're looking for work, if you're looking for business. So I figure I'll just drop that real quick. But the reason why is because he was talking about journals. He was like, if you look at my journals, you look at my goals and aspirations, everything that I wished or I wanted back then, um, I wanted to make $10,000 a month. He's like, I excelled. I did that. He's like, I wanted to make 20 grand a month. I excelled. I did that. I wanted to make 30, 40, 50, 60 grand a month. I excelled. I did that. Then I got to 100 and I said, wow, this is really amazing. Right. So it really hit home with me because I was just like, holy smokes, kind of going through a similar experience. But the thing is it all stems from, in my opinion, not only the reading, but the reading or the journaling, the books, the pages, the hundreds of pages written that have the dreams, the aspirations, the goals, the daily present moment goals. The journal is a powerful thing because you're able to dissect the ideas and then go back as a point of reference later in the future. Which, I mean, who's really tracking their journal nowadays, right? Or their lives? We only get to do this one time. So why not leave a portion of us, even if it's for a year? Why not leave a portion of us on Earth for other people to read and learn from? So I'll see you guys on the other side. So I want to give a special shout out to my buddy Brandon. This is why I feel it's really important to not only this is why I feel like it's not only important to connect with other people and never lose sight of that aspect of life. But I was out with my buddy Brandon. We had coffee the other day, and um, I was talking to him about something I want to do. So everybody out there who doesn't know, I actually studied law, pre-law in college, and so for a long time, and as of late, I've been really, really considering going to get my JD, my Juris Doctorate, and so I'll be, a licensed lawyer in Washington State. 3-year program isn't too. Good morning, AJ. How's it going? Good morning. Good morning. Blessings, brother. But the but the I've always wanted to get my law degree, and I really, 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 really I'm confident that I will get that, right. But side note, I was talking to my buddy Brandon, and I was thinking about something else, and he posed this question to me. He's like, well, why don't you do this? And I sat there for a second, I thought, and then really, really quickly, like a lot of thoughts and conversations that I had about doing this particular thing came with some negative insight, and it almost foregone or didn't forgot to mention the positives that would come from me doing this certain thing in terms of ownership and certification. And so when I was talking to him, it just dawned on me, and I was like, so the reason why I know I'm gonna go get my JD and become a real estate attorney is because the thing is when you pick up a book to read a book, when you spend the time to go through an educational program or get a certification, and then I listened to Jim Rohn again yesterday for like 3-4 hours, right? Just on constant play. And he's like, you have to become an asset to life. What do you have to offer? He said he was at work, and he said, man, they're only going to pay me $10 an hour. They're only paying $10 an hour. And then his mentor came into the situation and said, no, they're only paying you $10 an hour because you don't qualify, because you haven't built yourself to a place where you can earn $50, $60, $70, $80,000 an hour, right? So $10 versus $80,000. That first mental barrier is broken by your understanding of who you are. And when you step into the consciousness and you know how powerful you really are, then anything in this world is possible. There's no number unrealistic. It's just that you have to believe it internally. You have to know that, okay, you know what? I put in over 250 hours of self-development this year alone, right? Not including any previous years, just this year alone. So how do I value that in terms of being an asset? From a relational aspect, when you're communicating, you're being in other people's lives and you have friends and people and family around you, there is no price on that. It's priceless because you are the anchor. You are the provider. You are the supporter. You are the affirmation. You are the truth to the people around you, or at least, the aspiration or, your knowingness is to show up in the best light that you can, right? So, but when we're talking about value and actually bringing value to a job and making more money and, getting this thing called financial freedom, creating residual income, these things, not, you have 250 hours or however many hours you've dedicated to the journey to greatness, just as an easy way to look at the snapshot of dedicated self-development and consciousness building And then when you start talking about the books you read, this is, when was this book written? How many years of experience did Eckhart Tolle have before he put his intelligence into this book? How many years of experience did Tim Grover? How many years of experience did Napoleon Hill have? How many years of experience does Tony Robbins have? How many years of experience do these other Sean Covey have for the Four Disciplines of Execution? Richard Seaman. How many years of experience? How many years have these people lived? Over 200 years of combined education experience crammed with 260 hours of studying. I mean, come on, it's greatness, you guys. It's just greatness. So, we're coming to the tail end of this book. We only have like 30 pages left. I can't wait for the next one though, because I have a feeling it's going to take us to a whole nother dimension. Now, we're talking about awakening yesterday, because we're trying to define what our inner purpose is. And good morning, Micah. Good morning, brother. Good morning, Carl. Good morning. So only the first awakening, the first glimpse of consciousness without thought happens by grace, without any doing on your part. If you find this book incomprehensible or meaningless, it has not happened to you yet. If something within you responds, however, if something within you responds to it, however, if you somehow recognize the truth in it, it means the process of awakening has begun. So anyone, and this is the thing about truth, is truth will affirm a person's character. You have a conversation with a person, they tell you X. When you lie, there's a lot to remember. There's a lot of lies to remember, right? But when you tell the truth, then that truth it'll be easier for you to reiterate and come back to, oh, no. My original thought and my original opinion was X. It wasn't Y, because I don't lie. I tell the truth. When you live with that foundational principle, when you hear truth, your subconscious picks up on it. And what this book is suggesting is you hear truth. And that's what makes all of these journeys so amazing. Because when you make the decision to live a conscious life, it's a universal thing. The reason why it makes sense, and I can just pick up a book, or from my life experiences, everything I've learned from mentors who have passed ideology down for me for however many years they've been alive, right? All the years growing up, my dad, my barber, Mr. Devin, my parents, my mom, everyone who's had an impact in my life. The reason why my words continue to come off of my tongue as they are, and they actually there's been many instances where I've said something and then we picked up a new book, and then the book has reiterated the same thing that I was mentioning, before, but I had never read that book. The reason why those things happen like that is because that truth lives within all of us. Our life inner purpose is to become awakened to our state of being. And when we come into that state of being, we become ultimate powerful, where we can create any reality that we wish. So the reason why it resonates with a lot of people, or many people who join me every morning for the journey to greatness, it is fundamentally a truth for you. If you get it, if it makes sense to you, if you're trying to get it and you just watch because you feel like something about it is a little bit different, well, the reason why is because you're starting to awake, or you're already awakened. And again, as my life purpose, to help people step into their highest form of consciousness, help them step further into their form of consciousness, and or remind them of how great they are, and therefore, and let them know that the track that they're on, through other people's material, through my own personal experience, that we're going in the right direction. But not to lose identity in that. And we'll get into that here in this section of the chapter. What is the relationship between awareness and thinking? Awareness is the space in which thoughts exist when that space has become conscious of itself. With the grace of awakening comes responsibility. Yeah, hear me out. We can use our powers for good. We can use our powers for evil, whatever that means, right? However we define that. But the thing is like I was mentioning yesterday, there comes certain times where we have to step into our greatness because we're gracefully introduced to it. When we gracefully come into a state of consciousness and awareness, right, that brings so much peace to your heart, to everything that you're about. So the way that you show gratitude is to walk around one of the ways to show gratitude is to walk around Earth with your light shining bright. So never letting anybody to dim your light. And then you can you can lighten up darkened spaces, however defined, not saying good or bad, right? So no judgment. So you can either try to go on once you have been gracefully introduced to awakening. You can try either to go on as if nothing has happened, or you can see its significance and recognize the arising of awareness as the most important thing that can happen to you. See? So you have two options. You can say, oh, yeah, I see it. I get it, but just too much work. Or you can step into a state of gratitude, right? Thankfulness. Thank God. Thank you. Thank you. God, thank you for allowing me to be awakened. Like, this is wild. All this stuff I've learned my whole life, and then putting it now into this book is just absolutely, I'm thankful. I'm humbled by it. And it's absolutely amazing. I choose that route because I like this stuff. I think we are powerful, and we do not deserve to live anything less than, royalty. Opening yourself to the emerging consciousness and bringing its light into this world, right, everyone, then becomes the primary purpose of your life. I hadn't even read this yet, and that was my purpose, right? So again, it's a universal concept. Doesn't matter if I'm here, doesn't matter if I'm in Africa, doesn't matter if I'm in Asia. Just like love is a universal language. You don't have to say anything to feel the love, to feel the energy from people. Doesn't matter where you go. I've traveled the world, right? And there's still a lot more traveling to do, but I've been in places where they don't even speak English. And I've built the closest relationships with people who only have a very limited capacity to speak English, or knowledge-based, or not knowledge-based, but spent time learning, right? Haven't learned English, but just have a little small amount of English that they know, and we've become the best of friends, So my point here is that it's our responsibility to open up the door. It's a universal language to become conscious. So I want to know the mind of God. And Einstein is one of my favorite people because I love his philosophy. Because like I said, I study law, so I love philosophy. I love history. And one of his greatest quotes is, logic can take you from A to B. Imagination can take you everywhere. Right? So that if I was, that's my favorite. I was gonna say that's like tattoo worthy. I would never do that, but like, that's a permanent statement that'll always be imprinted on my brain. He says the rest are details. So I want to know the mind of God, Einstein said. The rest are details. What is the mind of God? Consciousness. The door is wide open right now for us to step through this, whether you're going to accept it or not. What are the details? Your outer purpose and whatever happens outwardly. So there's two places that we live. We live inside, within us, and we live outwardly. But our inside build and the way that we nurture ourselves internally is the fundamental way that we express outwardly. And that's why they say, oh, well, that person's me and they probably have more going on in their life. The primary reason or primary drive for that potentially could be because they're not happy with themselves, right? So many people who are going through the early stages of the awakening process are no longer certain what their outer purpose is. So we lose sight of it almost because now we're digging deep into who we are. And so we're not even paying attention to the outer world. Okay. Now this next point's a really big one because I'm telling you, I've been through it, and to some capacity, I'm like at the tail end of it and I'm getting out of it. So what drives the world no longer drives them. What drives the world no longer drives them. Seeing the madness of our civilization so clearly, they may feel somewhat alienated of our civilization so clearly They may feel somewhat alienated from the culture around them. Some feel that they inhabit a no man's land between two worlds. They are no longer run by the ego, yet the arising awareness has not yet fully become integrated into their lives. Inner and outer purpose have not merged. So I can tell you as a forewarning, as you come into your highest state of knowing, um, it may feel like Jim Rohn said something else. People say, "Oh, well, how do you get up so early in the morning?" And to Jim, right? And he goes, well, if your drive or if your ambition to get to where I want to be was the same, I don't think you'd be asking me that question. And I was like, oh crap. I was like, man, that's pretty deep, right? I was like, that's a really good response. Um, but pretty much what he's saying here though is that as you step into your awareness, then you start to realize, you start to see the madness, you start to see the daily routines and rituals of other people around you. So then what naturally starts to happen is you go away from them. So your ego is saying, well, you're not participating in the same activities, David. You're not participating in the same activities, AJ. You're not participating in the same activities, Micah. So because you're not, that's a concern for me, because you're not supposed to outgrow these spaces. You're not supposed to, go to another level. You're supposed to stay right where you are, comfortable, right? But that's not the highest purpose for people or for man, potentially. Maybe that at that very moment, that may be what you see. And that's why you stay involved in the circle that you're in. But when you have a higher ambition to step into a higher sense of self, then you start to naturally pull yourself. You don't try. Like the forces, the atoms of life just negate you from people who aren't necessarily like on the same energy wavelength as you at that moment or in that time or in that space, right? So, which is beautiful about the universe. At the same time, you are not mad. You are not crazy. And yes, you may feel alienated because everybody's going out and partying every weekend, right? Everybody's going out and catching, happy hour times. But what are you doing? You're coming home. You're studying. You're not enjoying your life. I'm enjoying my life. I love reading. I love writing in my journal. I love manifesting my dreams. It's like the whole world is my canvas and I can just paint whatever I want. And it's a very exciting journey to be on. I can't tell you enough. But I also like hanging out. But then, when I go out and if I have a drink now or even a couple or a few, my body like rejects it so hard. It's remarkable. But my point here is that you may feel like you're alienated from civilization because so many people are participating in this other lifestyle, and you're living your life. You're doing your best to live your life in a state of perfection as you are, and as you show up to the world, but as a light, as a vessel to help other people come out of that darkness and come into the light. So it's a very interesting concept. It's not complex at all. But when you get to that point where you're like, dang, I'm different, or maybe like I feel like, I'm not really fitting in too much. Don't worry, because the universe will attract your tribe, and will attract people to you that fit that vibe and fit your vibe naturally and authentically. So we'll leave it at that. A dialogue. A dialogue on inner purpose. Something is true when it resonates with and expresses your innermost being, when it is in alignment with your inner purpose. So when you are expressing outwardly, and your inner expression and your outer expression have aligned, then you do whatever you do really, really well. So as long as you are unaware of being, So a lady came in to Eckhart's office and she said, I just want to do something better. I just want to do something better with my life. I know there's something better in the future. And I'm just waiting on this moment, right? So my thing here is that um, Eckhart goes to say, your purpose is to sit here right now and talk to me, right? That's what he says. Your purpose is here to sit here and talk to me. That's your purpose right now. Whatever. And he said, if you decide to leave here and drive, that will be your next purpose. And then she goes, well, I think there's a miscommunication. I don't think that we're communicating on the same wavelength here. I think you're not understanding. She goes, your purpose is what what I'm doing right now. That's how you're defining it. I like these kind of conversations. If you're ever in disagreement, it's the perfect way to go about it. I think there's a misunderstanding, miscommunication. I'm coming from a place of X. You're coming from a place of Z. Where do we bridge the gap so we can both be on the same page? And if not, then we'll agree to disagree and walk away. No quarreling or no debate. So she goes, I think we're coming from two different places. You're coming from a place of it's right now. I'm coming from a place that's future ambition, like my future goals. And he said, pretty much, in the end, if you're not at one with the present moment, your present being, then essentially to say, oh, I wish to, have a goal to be successful sometime in the future is irrelevant, because invariably time, these are his words, time will eliminate your dream. Time will take away from that thought of, oh, I'm waiting for, stop waiting. Write it down, execute on small levels, celebrate your small wins, right? And get to what you want to do. I was talking to a really close family member of mine the other day, and I spoke to him maybe 2 years ago, about a dream that he had, like a dream and aspiration. And he was telling me, and I recently revisited with him, and I asked him about it, and then I called him out, and I was like, well, hey, you used to talk this way about your dream. And he kind of looked at me like this and was like, yeah, but like not everybody is, blessed to make money. Not everybody's blessed to get this and get that. And to be honest, like for me, like when I show up or when I show up, I'm like, oh yeah, of course, if you want to invest your money, especially in real estate, let me know. I'll show you exactly, what I'm doing over here. I'll show you exactly how to create cash flow. Because every single day I'm thinking of ways of, okay, like I can go to Texas and buy a sixplex and drop 75 grand, let's say, for example, on 25% loan, and make $3,900 a month, $3,900 a month. After all my bills are paid, make $2,300 a month, and it only costs $75,000. You put 8 people together. Each of us is making, let's just say, for example, each of us is making, $500 a month off of, a few $1,000 or, $7,000, but we're making $500 a month. How long is it going to take for us to make our money back? So my point here is that don't wait. There's always opportunity, but the moment that you allow your mind to come to a place of, well, it might just be too hard, I enjoy where I'm coming from, and then people change too, so I wish the best for everybody, and I want everybody to be like, ching, like up here, like rich, like no suffering, spiritually, personality, characteristically, and financially, right? And the financial part is awesome, because you don't fall in love with money, but it's good to have money, right? So you can do what you want to do. So my point is, don't ever limit yourself. And Eckhart Tolle says, all right, we gotta get going here. As long as you are unaware of being, you will seek meaning only within the dimension of doing and of the future. That is to say, the dimension of time. If you depend on time to dictate when the right moment is for you, it won't come. It won't come. And if it does come, or when it does come, because I don't like to live in a world of knots, right? Everything is possible. You may look back and say, damn, why not just do that like 4 or 5 years ago? It would have been so easier just to do it 4 or 5 years ago. Why did I wait this long? So help me save you time, help you save me time. Let's execute together. And whatever meaningful or fulfillment you find will dissolve or turn out to have been a deception. Invariably, it will be destroyed by time. Any meaning we find on that level is true only relatively and temporarily. So don't trick yourself. Let me be the bearer of bad news. If you're awakened and you have a dream, go get it. If helping others gives meaning to your life, you depend on others being worse off than yourself so that your life can continue to be meaningful and you can feel good about yourself. If the desire to excel, win, or succeed at this or that activity provides you with meaning, what if you never win or your winning streak comes to an end one day, as it will? You would then have to look to your imagination or memories a very unsatisfactory place to bring some meaning, some meager meaning into your life, making it in whatever field is only meaningful as long as there are thousands or millions of others who don't make it. So you find your credibility in other people's success. Never compare yourself to other people. Doesn't matter how successful they are. Doesn't matter how unsuccessful they are, quote unquote. I'm not saying here that helping others, caring for your children, or striving for excellence in whatever field are not worthwhile things to do. Making money is fun. And when you have a lot of money in your account, you just seem to be a little bit less stressed. My point here is don't fall in love with the money. Don't fall in love and don't find your identity in winning. Don't find your identity in other people telling you how great you are. Find your identity of who you are because you love yourself. So that if any of that outer thing is taken away, it doesn't matter because you got you, right? So for many people, they are in an important part of their outer purpose. But outer purpose alone is always relative, unstable, and impermanent, not permanent. It means you should connect them to your inner primary purpose so that the deeper meaning flows into what you do. So that's the reason why you can never be replicated. All of us show up a different way. When you choose and you make the decision today to be the best at what you do today, at whatever it is you're doing, your natural being and your level and the work, the time that you put in, even waking up for like this last hour, you are putting your best into knowing, and you're going to go off and be remarkable today, every second after this. If you ignore your inner purpose, no matter what you do, even if it looks spiritual, the ego will creep into how you do it. And so the means will corrupt the end. The common saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. To this truth, in other words, not your aims or your actions are primary, but the state of consciousness out of which they come. Fulfilling your primary purpose is laying the foundation. The primary purpose in life for everyone is finding and coming to a state of awakening or awareness. Fulfilling your primary purpose is laying the foundation for a new reality, a new earth. You're no longer subject to the stereotypes of society. And that's a really hard pill to chew, because 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 years of slavery. How can you say you're not subject to your reality? Again, if it doesn't make sense, you may not be ready for it. I'll just leave it there. Once the foundation is there, your external purpose becomes charged with spiritual power, because your aims and intentions will be one with the evolutionary impulse of the universe. There is no man, there is no woman that can combat the universe. Period. So when you know and you're in unison with God, and you are one with the universe, there's nothing that can stop you in anything that you wish to do. Period. And we shouldn't even get into examples of showing constant evolution of getting better and getting better and breaking boundaries. We are not speaking of clock time, but of psychological time, which is the mind's deep-seated habit of seeking the fullness of life in the future where it cannot be found and ignoring the only point of access to it, the present moment. When you look upon what you do or where you are as the main purpose of your life, you negate time. This is enormously empowering. The negation of time in what you do also provides the link between your inner and outer purpose, between being and doing. When you negate time, you negate the ego. Whatever you do, you will be doing extraordinarily well, because the doing itself becomes the focal point of your intention or your attention. Your doing then becomes a channel through which consciousness enters this world. So even through your natural work and state of being, your consciousness, your energy, your light is coming through. If you make cups for a living, then the way that you make cups will be felt by the person who receives the water or the juice or the drink that's inside of it. Thank you, machine. But for things that are handmade, your spirit goes into them, your energy goes into them, right? And that's even creating light to a micro level. Well, on a macro level, but at a micro, from a micro's point of view, I guess you'd say, things that we don't really think about. This means there is a quality in what you do, even the most simple action. There you go. Like turning the pages in the phone book, or walking across the room. The main purpose for turning the pages is to turn the pages. The secondary purpose is to find a phone number. The main purpose for walking across the room is to walk across the room. The secondary purpose is to pick up a book at the other end. And the moment you pick up the book, that becomes your main purpose. What are you going to do with that book? So being one and the same, inner purpose and outer purpose, linking, being in togetherness. Nice. That's awesome, AJ. That's absolutely awesome. So what I will say is, at the end of the day, you define your own reality, and the truth will inevitably always come back to you when you hear it. So feel free to help me close out this session today and repeat after me out loud. This is my life. I am aware. I take full responsibility for my reality and thoughts. I recognize I have the power to manifest the best possible life, a life of wealth, love, and peace. I truly believe I have zero limitations. I trust my instincts, God, and universe. I am ready to transcend. I have arrived, and so it is. So, to everybody out there who jumped on the messenger board this morning, good morning. Thank you for joining me, day 251 of 365 with David McDonald, the GOAT. Everybody who's at home watching, thank you for sending love and light through the camera. I appreciate your support 10 times over, and infinite amount of times over. And I hope you all have the best day of your life. Again, create the reality through your mind, through your inner knowingness that you deserve to live, because we all deserve only the best things, the gold, the nourishment, the fruit of this life. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.